Hi, this is Korean Choices in Criminology, a podcast describing the life stories of prominent scholars in criminology, created by Network Safe Places at KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology. We would like to gain insights into their professional journeys, the factors and motivations behind their entry into the field of criminology, and their career accomplishments. We hope these interviews can serve as a source of inspiration for you who is a student or early career scholar. During these interviews, we aim to discover their past and present research passions. If you have comments or suggestions, please contact us via our website. Thank you and enjoy.
Hi, my name is Lorenzo. I'm a PhD and researcher at KTH, where I was student, and also a member of the research group. And we are here today at the venue of Stockholm Support of Technology 2024. And it's a great pleasure for me to introduce Professor Andromachi Tseloni, Professor of Quantitative Criminology, with expertise in organization theory, applied social statistics and econometrics. Her work revolved around 5 broad themes: criminal organization qualities, the crime perceptions, social capital, and cross-national comparisons. Hi, Andromachi. Very glad that you're here today in this interview. I hope everything is well, and you have a very nice time with the symposium with Stockholm. And thanks for taking the time with us. So, before we start, maybe some bio information from you, like where you're from, with your name, things like how you are called, things like that.
Hi, Anis. Thank you so much for the invite. This is a great honor. And also, if I can extend my thanks to Professor Van for getting me guys into this idea. My name is Andromachi Tseloni. So currently, as Jan said, is Quantitative Criminology, and also from Trent University. I'm a member of the Quantitative and Special Criminology research group, but not from Trent University. I was born in 1965 in Athens, Greece, and I went to the local school. In fact, my primary school was next door to our flat, so my mom used to throw the sandwich from the balcony at break time. And I went to the neighborhood state school where my dad would have gone if he had gone to high school. And then I went to the Economics and Business University in Athens. It's called Athens University of Economics and Business. Currently, it's a different name back then. Where I studied economics and economic analysis for my undergraduate. And then for my master's, I did, again, economic analysis with specialization in economic statistics and econometrics. And then I went for a PhD, not straight afterwards, a few years later, to the University of Manchester.
And
from then on, yeah.
It's UK, all the rest of the...
No, actually. So, I've stayed in the UK for a year after my PhD. Then went back to Greece for like a few months, then back to the UK for 2 years, having like my first lectureship at the University of Hull. And then I moved to the US, University of Maryland, College Park, where I was very lucky to work with this year's laureate, co-laureate, Professor Gary Lefrey, and others. So that was 4 years. And then I went back to the University of the Aegean in Lesbos for a couple of years, and then the University of Macedonia in Thessaloniki, Greece for another 3 years. And from 2007 onwards, more or less not from Trent University. Yeah.
So it was a long way.
It was a long way, but thank God I had a child, and that child had like stable education, and that's why, yeah, I've been not from Trent all these years.
Okay, nice. It's a very interesting route that you followed. You went all around.
Well, almost, yeah, no, I haven't been to New Zealand. My mom was saying, can't you go further away when I went to the States? Yeah.
It's always our parents.
Yeah.
But so what? So you started from like business economics.
Economics, econometrics, yeah.
So how did criminology came into your way? What sparked that interest in criminology?
I had no idea that existed such a discipline called criminology, because in Greece it's still a new discipline. There's not even a department of criminology. It's like a sub department, if you like, currently in Athens, and most criminologists in Greece have a law background. In fact, so back when I was doing my economics, I was really interested in sociology, psychology, but back then, shortly after the dictatorship in Greece, there weren't any like competent sociology departments and psychology departments back then in Athens. And so the advice was, okay, you do economics because it's social science, and then see where you go from there. And therefore I specialized in econometrics and statistics because I was looking at a way to apply the methodology to, if you like, the substantive fields I was interested in. But then criminology was completely by accident. What happened was I worked after my master's degree at the National Accounts of the Hellenic Statistical Authority for 3 years, and then I firmed my view that I have to move away from economics. I didn't have any interest. I wanted to apply the methodological competence I had acquired at the time to social issues, human-centered. And so I was trying to get a scholarship for PhD, and third time lucky, I got the Hellenic Foundation, Scholarship Foundation grant, and that was May 1990, and summer 1990, the whole country was at standstill because there were massive strikes, including a post office strike. But my applications had gone out before the strike, and thanks to a recommendation letter by late Professor Magdalinos, a econometrician who had worked at the University of Manchester, the only letter of acceptance that came back for a PhD was from the University of Manchester, and there was a very new emerging collaboration between Professor Ken Pease, that you all know in your criminology, and Professor Denise Osborne, who you may not know because she's an expert seasonality econometrician, and they had like joined forces, so to speak, to analyze the then newly British Crime Survey data that the Home Office had collected, and they were in great need of analysts within the UK. So there was this like acceptance for PhD study letter that said, we've got this new exciting data set, which is like criminological theory, but don't worry, you'll be in the econometrics and social statistics department, which is or was, now it doesn't exist anymore, because the University of Manchester has joined with other universities in the city. Yeah, so it was all by accident. It was like the Magdalinos was someone like they could rely on at econometrics, and they had the data set ready, and they didn't need to think much. They just needed the skills that I was offering. My letter said I want something like social. I said, right, criminology social, we get you. Yeah.
I will wondering from what you're saying. So you came from another field.
Another field, only thanks to Greek post office strikes.
And my question is, how difficult was that transition? Like understanding a bit of the field also, because I make that transition now. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, it was extremely interesting. So first of all, terminology, because my master's dissertation was on tax incidents.
Okay. Already a link,
but only verbal.
Yeah.
Because tax incidents is the relative burden of indirect taxation on low-income households. Because obviously, if you spend like 80% of your income, on food, indirect taxes are really, really burdensome. Whereas if you're rich and you're spending, 5% of your income on food, doesn't matter how much indirect taxes they pay. So that's that. But maybe it intrigued me to then focus my analysis on victimization incidents, the number of crimes per victim or per member of the exposed population. So then it was terminology. The other, of course, was cultural, because I was brought up in Athens, and my personal and all my friends and relatives' experiences of public spaces in late night hours and early morning hours were completely safe places. And so reading all this lifestyle victimization theory at the library, I was going, what's that all about? And I think that also trigged my interest in environmental criminology, because it's not all public spaces late at night, early in the morning. It must have something to do with the use of the spaces, the layout of the spaces, etc.
The risky facility that we use so much as a term nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good link for what I want to ask. What is environmental criminology? How do you see it, like from your background, from econometrics, and also then the criminology, what is for you?
So it's much larger than what I'm actually working on. So for me, environmental criminology would be like based on population surveys, national population surveys, where we can link into people's, victims and non-victims, like everybody, perceptions and factual experiences, area characteristics, but we also have enough detail to know about where incidents happened, if they can perceive that. For example, if it's a burglary and they're on holiday, they don't know exactly when it happened, for example. But we know more detail about the area. But then if it's violence, and they don't remember much, then it's harder to find this information. So it's linking official statistics about areas where incidents happened, but also, if possible, with other data about the perceptions of these areas that people who have not been linked to the victimization survey have. So we have independent information, so to speak, because if you experience something bad in an area, then of course you're not going to like that area moving forwards, and you have a biased perception. So we receive independent information, and also with geographical information of the physical layout, and the uses of the space from, for example, in England and Wales, there's something called the Ordnance Survey that has, all facilities of spaces, like shops, industries, etc.
I get the feeling.
Like everything.
Yeah, we're moving. It's important. Data are important.
Yeah, data linking.
Yeah, data is very important. We see that more recently, maybe than previous years. And that's data-driven approaches. They are evidence now. So the better we are.
But we also have to be really careful. Like, for example, if we do data mining on, Twitter about how people feel about an area, then that's biased, because not everybody uses Twitter, or even not everybody goes to that area because of these issues. So we need to be mindful of, what we're missing out if we use open data. Yeah. So I think we need a combination of face-to-face surveys and open data, and then these statistics.
Yeah. I think we see that in many cases here in Stockholm, also in surveys, that people outside of the areas consider those areas worse than the actual people that live there. Because it's what you hear in the media or what you hear from friends. Sometimes the reputation is enough for an area to become problematic.
Yeah, and I do have an example, and that's great. You would appreciate that. So, Exarchia, it's been portrayed as a bad area in the news. And so a friend of mine, slightly older than me, had never been to Exarchia. It was like, oh, wow, we're going to go there. But my university was next to that area. And it's a pretty safe place, actually.
Yeah, and it was always a student area also.
Yeah.
It's also
a
lot of art. So it has the bad reputation.
For political reasons.
The local.
That's another discussion.
Yeah. So, how do you think, in practice, our field, like the field of environmental criminology, how important is practice? Like applying all these things that we discuss and the results that we find, how important is to link them to practice?
I think this is the aim of environmental criminology to some extent, because didn't we start with Pat Mayhew and Ron Clark presenting their findings from the car parks, the risky car parks and which car parks were not. So it started as a practical, if you like, theory, and then expanded. Therefore, there's no point really doing environmental criminology research if we cannot find out practical applications. And there are zillions. But it's not up to researchers. So researchers can do up to a certain point. They can summarize their findings. They can do even short films. We have learned over the years to use fewer and fewer sentences if we want to be heard by policy people and busy politicians. But we've got to take into account that there's also industry lobbying that we cannot escape, and there's also political ideology we cannot escape. So I've got an example with my collaborative research on burglar alarms that we found that England and Wales actually slightly increased the chances of being burgled. We found this finding back in 2014. Communicated to the local crime and safety partnership. And we've also communicated which security device actually protect without having to pay a lot to install them. In fact, they're all, the windows and door locks, for example, are standard for modern houses. And they applied this, and there was in experimental design linked to near repeat victimization prevention. There was 64 reduction in domestic burglaries, like a year after the end of that initiative. And then at the back of that, the Home Office funded Rachel Armitage and James Hunter and myself to do a specifically targeted research on why burglar alarms don't work, or are there any burglar alarms that do work and others that don't work. And so we completed this research, and we found out that burglar alarms don't work in England and Wales because most are old, most householders inherit them, so they don't know the code, and therefore they don't turn them on, etc. And if they go off, none is responding. So we've got all these really, really insightful findings, but nothing has come into policy in relation to that. There's no public awareness campaigns at the national level. As I said, locally, obviously they didn't say don't put a burglar alarm, but they did highlight the other security devices that did work. But at national level, there's nothing happening. They're not informing at large the police officers, etc. currently. So it's a bit disappointing. But then what can you do?
It's very interesting because even like this communicated to the population that they need to understand, okay, we're not safe if we have
exactly.
You're not safe.
Actually, you're more at risk.
Yeah, you're more at risk. So
if you don't know how to use it, take it off.
Even that would be enough communication to the public. And there are good and bad examples.
There are good and bad examples, yeah. And I think there are phases as well.
Yeah, I think there are times that a lot of practitioners want to look for researchers, but then there is a lot of times that they're looking for practitioners and can't find them as researchers. They're not interested in their after research and falls into this relationship. Always one chasing the other. Okay. So my next question is more about you or younger people, like how you encourage like a new researcher, like to motivate, or when they start in this new field, what do you say to them to encourage them, like to not give up maybe when their papers are not published or they don't find practitioners working?
Well, there's always a way to work. I mean, you don't need to work with practitioners. And in my view, at the local level, practitioners are always interested in solutions to their crime problems, especially if those solutions don't have any cost for the local government in the climate we're working now. So a solution, if it would make them look good and they've done something for the local neighborhood, then I think they will adopt it. As I say, it's more like at the national level where there might be issues. So I think if you've got like research ideas, it's like go for it. And if the results are not that encouraging, and then this is really good, it's good to publish, non-significant findings, because then people would know and then they won't go down that way. Or it might be that, it works in another setting, in another context. So, for example, burglar alarms in the US, as far as I know, you get penalized financially if your alarm goes off without any reason. And so burglar alarm, for example, to continue on that. So in the US, they're all linked to either a police department or a center. So there is some action taken if they go off. And if households have like faulty burglar alarms that go off a lot and create annoyance, then they may be fined, for example. Or in Greece, because burglar alarms in Greece are not that common. If burglar alarm goes on in a building, the whole neighborhood is outside that building saying, what on earth is happening here? By contrast, for car alarms, they go off not paying attention at all. So I would encourage you pursue your particular interest, and don't get discouraged if you don't find funding, because there are always publicly available data to work with that you don't need funding for, because you don't need to do primary research. For collaboration with practitioners, this is stuff. Just have in mind that as practitioners move on, you might not have the relationship there to continue the research collaboration, but that's all right. I mean, that's how life is. People move. Keep on publishing what you're really passionate about, and if you're not able to publish, I think even rejections, if the reviews are really good, then they are beneficial.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think I learned a lot from the process of publishing.
Yeah.
Something.
Oh, another thing that I didn't know when I was young, when you get rejections, it's not personal. It's got nothing to do with you as a person. They don't actually know you. It's not personal at all. Yeah. That's the game. Another thing, also, if they want a little tweak, if you get an R&R, they just go for the tweak, do whatever is recommended to have it out, and then you have a discussion paper or a working paper somewhere. But on the other hand, putting things out without peer review is not good either, because it might damage long-term your reputation. Yeah, I'm saying that because it's this big UK RI initiative now, Administrative Data Research UK, where you would where they're funding government departments to deduplicate and of course anonymize administrative data and make it available for research under, of course, very strict conditions because they are confidential data, secure data. Even that they duplicate and anonymize, they're still under very strict conditions. And to a bit like the Home Office back in the 1990s, they needed to justify to the Treasury the investment for the British Crime Survey, and they wanted people like to analyze the British Crime Survey, hence they were important poor PhD candidates from economics and econometrics from other countries. So right now, again, they want to like justify this big investment, so they want to have like summaries of the research findings publicly available, which is fine, but they're not peer-reviewed.
Yeah. We see that in other fields happening years up before.
Right, right.
It's happening like in small fields.
Yeah. So there should be some balance. Yeah, there should be some balance.
Okay. So it's been almost how many years?
30, I was awarded my PhD, so 34 since I was like, completely confused why people late at night out in public places get victimized.
Yeah. So where do you see it going in the field of environmental criminology in the next 20, 30 years or 5, 10 years, whatever is your...
I think with this, new opportunities for data linking and for incorporating more independent information for particular spatiotemporal coordinates would create, if you like, focused crime prevention approaches, which would apply to specific spaces for specific uses at particular times for particular population groups. I think, and that would make crime prevention much more efficient and very cost effective, in my view. But then, from a political viewpoint, it might look divisive, it might look victim blaming. So one should be extremely careful how to navigate this.
Because we also have to be careful of political approaches that we take or things that we say that have a social effect. Yeah.
And I think the best way then to approach this is from a public health perspective.
Okay.
And that would alleviate any victim blaming, in my view, connotations.
Okay. Yeah.
And would also give access and voice to potential offenders, because victims and offenders are not usually different group of people. Yeah.
They're people.
They're people, yeah.
The party group, Okay.
And it's not like bad and good, it's like how you act in specific situations. Yeah.
It's all about the situation. I think the situation.
It's the interaction.
Okay, so you go back in time. We went to the future. Now we go back to the past. So what do you say to yourself, 20-year-old, when you had no idea that you were going to be in that position?
I was 20-year-old. I was still like reading economic analysis. Yeah.
Okay, let's say when you finished your master's or at that point before starting what would you like now with the knowledge you have? What would you say? Do that? Don't? Or do this differently?
Well, I'd say, well, hindsight, like, yeah, do whatever you feel passionate about, but make sure that it works in the context you're operating. So, for example, if I wanted to like live in Greece, then I wouldn't have had the opportunities I was given in the UK. I have to admit that the environment there and maybe the support of my mentors was extremely encouraging. I have to admit that. And as I say, like the political ideology is going through phases, but there's always an open dialogue, and you can always say whatever you want to say, and that wouldn't really, close doors. Yeah. So I think, yeah, just make sure what young people do in the environment they want to operate, just receptive to what they want to do.
Yeah, I think I got the same experience moving from Greece here to Sweden. I didn't know criminology, I never criminology existed, as you said, like, I had no idea I came from Greece. But then the environment is so welcoming sometimes that it means they want you to like explore different sides of those.
And the mentorship is quite important. The mentorship is, I think, key. Because if you got mentors who are like taking great pride and joy of their mentees' achievements, that's a great advantage. Whereas in other environments, they might want to keep staying bosses.
The games from okay. So we're pretty much ending now. So I would like a couple of thoughts or remarks from you to share with the viewers, something like to say.
Well, what I like to say, finally, is for young researchers, you should be faithful to your field, not to who pays you. Because I moved a lot, but I always did the same kind of research with tweaks, but it was and I think this is very important because it's important to have a reputation or to be able to communicate with people from all over the world on common interests that eventually, in theory, can improve life.
That's a very good message to stay true to your and not who's paying you.
And not who's paying you, because that's academia. Academia, I mean, in theory, they ought to be paying you to develop theory and knowledge and make, a society a better place. They shouldn't be paying you, I don't know, tick boxes in Excel spreadsheets. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think that's the time we have. So, viewers, thanks for joining us on the podcast, and stay tuned for some videos in the future. Until then, take care and goodbye.